Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with great recordings you've never heard of. And this one is for, well, the more adventurous amongst us, but, not necessarily. It's kind of interesting. One of the beauties of this channel, for me anyway, is that I get to look around at stuff that I haven't listened to in years and pull it out and give it a shot or refresh my memory. And this is one of those occasions because I was just, browsing through a pile of stuff, and in it was this. There we go. Now and Then, which was issued around 2017, I think, 2017 by ECM. And it was one of those, what is a now and then? What do you do with a now and then? Do you put it under now, N, or do you put it under T for then? Well, actually, what it is a disc of transcriptions by two friends, Bruno Maderna and Luciano Berio, both members of the Italian avant-garde. However, and this is where things get juicy, because this is one of those concept albums that really works. It's really smartly put together by Denis Russell Davies, the conductor of the Orchestra della Svizzera Italiana, and Pablo Márquez, guitar in one work, which I'll talk about in a moment. So here's what it is. And once I explain the concept, you'll know if you're interested or not. But I would be, because it's really fun. First of all, Bruno Maderna was a dynamo of a composer. His own music can be extraordinarily difficult, and but it's interesting. And he loved all kinds of music from every period. And like Berio, and like so many of his colleagues, Respighi and others, he liked to do transcriptions of music from the Italian early Baroque and late Renaissance. And here we've got works by Frescobaldi, Legrenzi, Gabrieli, Tommaso Ludovico di Viadana. I'll bet you haven't heard of him, although he wrote these charming little sinfonias, which are included here, and Unico Wilhelm von Wassenaer, who was formerly known as Pergolesi. That is, his concerti grossi were attributed to Pergolesi. Then we figured out Pergolesi really didn't write them. And one of those is in here too, or arranged as a lovely little sort of concerto. It's called Concerto of Palestrina. And it's delightful, a delightful three-movement piece. Maderna's transcriptions are very faithful to the originals harmonically. He's not trying to update them or do strange and weird things or discombobulate or otherwise, do modern things to them. It's not like Berio's Sinfonia, where you hear all kinds of pieces all jammed together on top of each other and bleeding into each other and whatnot, much as I love that. It's absolutely fabulous, but that's not the point. These are faithful transcriptions that delineate the contrapuntal strands through careful choice of orchestration in a chamber orchestra that consists of strings, woodwinds, and, the usual brass, trumpets, trombones, and horns. That's all they are, and they are beautiful. They're beautifully made with love, con amore, real amore. They're just wonderful to listen to, and they're beautifully played here. So that's that part of the program. Really fascinating stuff. Then in the middle, on track 6, squidged in between these late Renaissance and early Baroque confections, is Chemins. What is it called? Chemins V. Chemins V. It's a series of things. Chemin, ways, French, whatever. Anyway, by Berio. And what Berio has done, it's a transcription, but it's Berio transcribing himself. He takes Sequenza 11 for guitar, for solo guitar, which is in itself, it's a dialogue between flamenco guitar styles and more classical guitar styles. And he stuffs that, virtually unchanged, into a chamber orchestra maelstrom, as it were. Because it's one of those, it sounds like, chaos noises and all kinds of things, partly. But through it all, it's always with Berio. The thing that's cool about Berio is that no matter how weird or dense or dissonant he gets, there's always something that we've heard before or that sounds familiar, trying to peep through or to break through the the fog of activity surrounding it. And that's what happens here. I mean, the guitar part is marvelous. It's really fun to listen to. And the piece itself, although you just have to accept what it is. You have to accept the idiom, which is, not going to be tonal. Big deal. It's actually a fascinatingly sculpted dialogue. Berio's pieces I tend to see as kind of like sound sculptures. They have shape and mass more than they have like tunes and linear stuff. But it's a wonderful piece. It's about 20 minutes long. It actually works really, really well in context with all of this older material, because Berio, first of all, is engaging with older material, but in an avant-garde, if you want to call it that, a new way. But more than that, there's the contrast between the extreme sort of consonance and linear clarity of what Maderna is doing and the, throw it all in a pot and stir it up and let it happen stuff that Berio is doing. Although that only really applies to the orchestral writing, some of the orchestral writing anyway. The actual guitar writing is much clearer than that, because that's what makes the dialogue possible between the instruments and the solo. I mean, you really just got to hear it. I can't really explain it. The bottom line is that the program works fabulously well. And it's wonderfully played, as I said, by Denis Russell Davies in the Orchestra della Svizzera Italiana and guitarist Pablo Márquez. Really first-rate stuff on ECM. And I am so glad that I dug this thing out and gave it a listen, because when it first came out, I must have listened to it, and I vaguely remember the Maderna stuff and the Berio. Berio I have to be in the mood for, quite frankly, but when I am, I love it. I mean, it's really fun. But it's a disc that needs to be played complete. You need to just sort of like let it happen and persist if you think it's getting a little dense, because ultimately it's a very refreshing recording. And even the title is good. Now and Then. I love it. I mean, it's provocative, it's evocative, and so is the program, which is just beautifully, beautifully made. I love it when concept albums work, when the concept is really smart and the production is really top-notch, the notes are very good. It's just a wonderful, wonderful disc. And so I recommend it to you accordingly. Keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.